in the end.
I have tried, people. I have genuinely tried with this franchise. I have given it the benefit of the doubt more often than not, even with some crap design. But after what happened when I streamed this on Twitch, no more Mr. Nice Guy with the tax series. The kid gloves are off. Given, I guess, the success of the second game, another sequel was inevitable. THQ and Nickelodeon revealed their 7 titles for 2005 in January of 2005. The 5 Nick games, or 7 here, ended up being SpongeBob Lights Camera Pants, Danny Phantom The Ultimate Enemy, Barnyard, Fairly Odd Parents Shadow Showdown, Nicktoons Unite, Evergirl, Don't Ask, and today's game, Tak the Great Juju Challenge. The games were further shown at that year's E3 along with other THQ stuff. THQ actually reached out to Avalanche Software to have them make a third game. The goal was to top everything done in the previous games and in a short time frame. The idea itself spawned from the reality series The Amazing Race. The competition/cooperative nature of that was mixed in with the usual platforming fare, and lo and behold, Tak the Great Juju Challenge was born. Owned by the same developer and publisher as the previous two, this game was released on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox on September 19th, 2005 for North America and PAL GameCube territories. The PS2 and Xbox versions followed for PAL territories on March 3rd, 2006. There was also portable versions on the DS and GBA, but we don't have time for that. How's the main console version? Well, it might be the best of the trilogy, but it can't escape pulling some underhanded crap that makes you feel like you don't even know how to play a video game. Rather than focus on a save the world and stop a bad guy ordeal seen in the last 2 games, this game instead focuses on the titular Great Juju Challenge, hosted where Tak's tribe, the Pupanunu village, is. This is the first one in 60 years. Tak and Locke, representing the tribe, go and get a feather from a phoenix in Feathercrag to enter the challenge and are up against 3 other tribes, the Jibba Jabbas, the Gramazons, and the Black Mist. There are 4 sections total in the challenge and 4 proving ground sections. More on all that in a moment. It's up to Tak and Locke to bring it home for the tribe and maybe uncover some shenanigans here and there. Oh boy, those shenanigans.
You mean shenanigans?
Tak 3 at its core is still a platformer. You'll move from one end of the level to another, jumping along platforms, taking out enemies, solving puzzles, you know, the standard platforming stuff. Anyone who's played the previous games will pick up on this immediately. Anyone who hasn't, you'll pick up on this before you know it. However, returning veterans will find quite a few new gameplay design choices to keep them on their toes. For starters, the levels are now broken up into multiple parts, so when you get from the starting point and you reach the checkpoint, you go to the next section with more time. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the levels are timed now. As you hit checkpoints, not only do they act as respawn points, you do have infinite lives by the way, but they add time. You're given a specific amount of time to clear the level and keep moving quickly enough. You'll have enough time left at the end of the level for more points. If you run out of time, you can finish the level without the time limit or restart it from the beginning. Since you need the points to advance, you're better off doing that. The last big change is that the game now has you control both Tak and Locke. That's right, the big man teams up with the little guy, finally. You can play the game in either split-screen co-op with a friend, or play the game in single-player. In single-player mode, you can switch between the characters at any given time. You can also give the other character commands such as wait and follow and the like. On top of that, each character while playing similarly has their own advantages. Tak is more agile, can use his chicken suit to reach higher places when need be, has a range attack, can swim, and has a grapple spell to bring Locke near him like he's Scorpion in Mortal Kombat.
Get over here!
Other spells of Tak include freezing enemies, using spirits to attack enemies, and spawn barrels. Locke can climb vines, lift heavy items like barrels, and not lose any speed unlike Tak. He can even pick up Tak and throw him up to reach harder to reach places. He has a lobster suit that allows him to go underwater, cut rope for barrels to float for Tak to jump on, and he has his own spells as well. He can heal, use his shield, taunt so enemies can attack him, and he can make himself stink. Did I mention this game still has immature humor? Yeah. By the way, if you use his shield or heal while right next to attack, he'll get results from these spells, but only shielded if standing next to Locke continuously. So they each have their own differences, and you'll use them in conjunction with each other to complete the levels. You'll also find side quests within the level that if you complete, you can unlock gem cards. You can earn the gems from these by spending the smaller currency you find in-game. There's 3 different types of it, and you'll find it pretty easily as you play. These can increase your health bar and other benefits as such. As you complete the levels, you'll earn points. Your score will be calculated based on time, enemies defeated, and 500 points for each of the 2 characters finishing the level. The scores for each character will be combined. There are 4 sections. The first 3 sections have 3 levels, and the last section has 2 levels. In order to move on, you'll need to have enough points. Don't, and you'll have to go back and replay the levels until you do. Then to close out each section, we have the Proving Grounds, which is where the kid gloves come off for me here. These sections suck. The Proving Grounds sections takes the characters and puts them in a flat-out / twisted metal demolition derby ordeal with power-ups to help you out, like a freeze attack, turbo, and invisibility. Placing first in the main sections will help you get first pick of the cards, but none of it really seems to matter since these sections are all over the place. You have to try to damage your opponents to earn points. Later sections spawn in other enemies that you can take down for points. You have 200 seconds to not place last, and boy is that easier said than done. There are 3 problems with these sections. For starters, all the cars have horrible oversteer. Even the slightest turn on the analog stick will quickly turn them around. And the second problem, physics does not seem to exist. You can ram somebody directly head-on and nothing will happen, yet the slightest taps from a couple will flip you over. And lastly, the point distribution feels all over the place. Ramming an enemy head-on won't lead to anything. You won't even get any decent score for doing so unless your hit blows them up. In any case, it's a crapshoot with these sections, and it only gets worse as the game goes on. It all blows to a head in the last section. I might as well let the cat out of the bag since the story isn't that important anyways, but skip to the next section with the timestamp on screen / in the description if you really don't want to know. I will say this is the reason you do the last Proving Ground sections 3 times, not counting any retries. Okay, entering a spoiler but not really in 3, 2, 1. The Black Mist are cheating scumbags who make your life more hell than necessary and actually made 2 teams disappear from the last game, framed the Gramazons, and used the Dark Juju to cheat. That means when you get to the last Proving Ground sections, because these assholes have the audacity to tie your score via the Dark Juju, you have to do that section not once, not twice, but 3 fucking times. You fail once, you do it all over from the beginning. Say it with me, everyone. This is why save states were invented. I can't tell if you said it, so I'll just assume you did. On top of that, even after that hell you go through, the game's ending is a letdown. It's not as infuriating as the previous game's ending, but it's still disappointing. There's no fanfare for all that hell, and it's just, eh. Back from that section, let's address everything else. The actual platforming controls pretty well still. Since these games always at least did that well, it's no surprise the controls here are good. Switching between tack and lock is easy, and it's easy to access spells. You do have a pretty good control over moving them, attacking enemies, and generally it's very easy to pick up and play. Though it can be a bit hectic at times, and you might get overwhelmed if you play the game by yourself when it comes to switching and giving commands, but playing co-op will be less hectic on this regard. The game still controls good. The Proving Grounds, though, is a bit too tough to control. Aside from the oversteer, there's a forward button, but you can also just move forward with the analog stick. That doesn't make sense to me to have 2 accelerator buttons. Imagine if Twisted Metal did this. It wouldn't work. At least the other button commands work here, so most of the controls are fine. At least the game is firing on all cylinders graphically. The game pretty much retains the same art style seen in the previous games, and it's ever so pleasant to look at. There's always a good amount of diversity of environments you visit. jungles, mountains, beaches, swamps, etc. Some of them even have different weather patterns, which are nice to look at here. The swamp level has a decent fog effect, and it all is pleasing to the eyes, though some of it is repeated though. Like the Gates of Nocturne is pretty much the dream world from Tact 2, and there are some other repeating environments like it, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. The character models also look good, as do other environmental objects and things like water. The right number of details while still having the cartoon look to it all really helps. The game's performance is also fine, as it keeps to a steady frame rate for the most part, but some split screen sections that you must do in single player mode can really take a hit when a lot of action is going on with both characters. It seems to be worse in the GameCube and PS2 versions compared to the Xbox version, but all versions are fine regardless. The sound is also really good here. The music is once again on point here. The familiar tribalistic riffs and motifs heard in the previous games are back, and they all sound nice to match. It really does actually help immerse you in the game. But Gasfall / the remix used in the final Proving Ground stage sounds too familiar. Remember when WCW would modify familiar songs just to sound vaguely familiar while somewhat different? Like how DDP's theme is pretty much a bootleg version of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit? Well, Gasfall here sounds like the WCW version of Europe's The Final Countdown. But the rest of the music is fine. The familiar sound effects are also back. Clearly, the if it's not broke, don't fix it philosophy works here as well. Some are different for newer enemies and features and what have you, and it all blends together well. The game's voice acting is also pretty good, but then again, it was in the previous games as well. Jason Marsden, John Kassir, Patrick Warburton, Rob Paulson, Jeff Bennett, Jennifer Hale, Laura Jill Miller, Candace Bailey, and Tina Illman all come back to reprise their roles from the previous games, and they all do a good job as you would expect. They're joined by some new names that still have some noteworthiness, like Andy's favorite Eddie McClurg, Mitzi McCall, veteran VA Andre Soglioso. The Jibba Jabbas, I kid you not, are actually voiced by Jeffrey Amin Kaim, or Jack, the same guy who voiced Dex in Saints Row. And to top it all off, the Juju Challenge host is voiced by Michael Gough, the voice of Sadler from Resident Evil 4. But you might recognize his voice elsewhere.
Welcome, Poopanunu contestants, to the Great Juju Challenge!
Recognize that voice? Maybe this should jog your memory.
Hello there! Glad you could make it to the dispatch center. I'm Tonka Joe, your partner today.
That's right, it's none other than Tonka freaking Joe himself. Did I blow your mind there? Yes, no, maybe? Well, I think it's interesting. He does good like everyone else in the voice cast. You do have some bonuses to unlock. Concept art, music, and some bonus effects. So you got some replayability, but one time is enough. In fact, I've had enough of this game, so let's just end this review. Every time I try to give the TAC games the benefit of the doubt, they always pull some bullshit that makes me regret doing so. The first game had the Yorbell quest that grinded it to a halt. The second had that last section and that bad ending to boot. The third game has the dreaded Proving Grounds sections, especially the final one, and the last two levels before that are a bit too harder than expected since the time is lenient. Tact the Great Juju Challenge at least still looks good, controls well, does put an interesting spin on the series formula with the challenge nature of it, and the co-op play, and when it's not making you feel like you don't know how to play a game, it's fun. Like I said, might even be the best in the series. However, that last section is damned unbearable. The Proving Grounds sections aren't that well controlled in parts. There is still some crap in the story to boot, and the forced replaying levels, which you will probably have to do on your first time playing, even if you've played the other games, just to advance. I can forgive that last one to a degree, since I do feel I got better with some of the platforming levels, but I never got that feeling with the Proving Grounds sections. It always felt more like luck / mercy after having failed so much. I feel like these parts impact the game more overall, since if you can't get past them, you're screwed in terms of progression, and that's not a good feeling when you get your ass handed to you one too many times. This might have been the best of the series if not for those parts, and even then, it still feels on par with the rest of the other games in the series. Same deal as before, if you're exhausted on other platformers, maybe give these a go, but just be prepared for the crap parts, because they are crap. I give Tact the Great Juju Challenge a 2.5 out of 5. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, click the big red button below to subscribe. Check out the other links in the description for more cool stuff, and check out the playlist on screen for more content. See you in the next video.